It was supposed to be an ordinary evening. Emma Carter, a 28-year-old journalist, sat in her favourite coffee shop, staring out the rain-streaked window. That's when she noticed him, a man, sitting across the cafe, watching her. She tried to ignore him, but then he spoke. "You always sit here, by the window. You like to watch the rain hit the glass." Emma stiffened. The words sent a chill through her. How did he know that? Her fingers tightened around her coffee cup as the man leaned forward. "We need to talk, Emma. There's something you need to know before it's too late." Emma's first instinct was to leave, but something about the man's eyes dark. Knowing familiar made her stay. "Who are you?" she asked cautiously. The man tilted his head. "Does the name Daniel Whitmore mean anything to you?" Emma's blood ran cold. Daniel Whitmore was a name she hadn't heard in years. A ghost from her childhood, her mother's darkest fear. A man who had stalked her family, but he was dead, wasn't he? Her voice barely came out. "How do you know that name?" The man exhaled, his eyes shadowed with something unreadable. "Because he's back, and he's looking for you." Emma's mind reeled. This had to be a trick. "I don't believe you," she said, standing up. The man calmly reached into his jacket and slid something across the table. A photograph. Emma's heart stopped. It was a picture of her, taken from a distance. The date scrawled on the back was yesterday. Her hands trembled. She looked up at the man, her voice barely a whisper. "Who the hell are you?" His response sent ice through her vein. "My name is Ethan, and I've been protecting you for a long time." Emma's head spun. Protecting her? From what? And then Ethan said something that shattered everything she thought she knew. "You weren't supposed to survive that fire when you were 13, the one that killed your mother. But I changed that." Emma's breath caught. That fire, the one that had burned down their house, taking her mother's life. The one she had barely survived. Her mind flashed to a memory, a shadowy figure pulling her from the flames. A name whispered in her unconscious state. Ethan. But that was impossible. "You're lying," she said, voice shaking. Ethan's expression was grim. "You always hum when you're nervous, Emma, just like you are now." Emma's hands trembled as she reached for her phone. "I'm calling the police." Ethan sighed. "They won't believe you, and by the time they do, it'll be too late." She hesitated. Too late for what? Ethan's jaw tightened. "You were never supposed to live past that night. I broke the rules to save you, and now the universe is trying to correct my mistake." Emma's stomach twisted. "What does that mean?" Ethan's voice dropped to a whisper. "You don't exist in the timeline you're in, Emma. You were meant to die, and now something is coming to fix that." Emma's skin prickled. "What do you mean something is coming?" Ethan's eyes darkened. "It's already here." Just then, the cafe door creaked open. A man in a grey coat stepped inside. Ethan stiffened. "Don't move." The man's gaze swept the cafe. Then his eyes locked onto Emma. A cold smile formed on his lip. Emma's pulse pounded. She had seen that face before, in nightmares. Ethan grabbed her wrist. "We need to go. Now." The man in the grey coat started toward them. Emma barely had time to think before Ethan pulled her from her seat, shoving through the cafe doors. They ran. Rain pounded the pavement as they tore through the dark streets. "Who is he?" Emma gasped. Ethan's voice was grim, not someone from this world. They didn't stop running until they reached an abandoned alleyway. Ethan finally let go of her hand. Emma spun around, her breath ragged. What is happening? Ethan closed his eyes. Then he said something that made her world tilt. Emma, I'm not from this world either. I crossed over to save you. But that man, he's here to erase you. Emma shook her head. This is insane. But deep inside, she knew it was true. Her entire life, she had felt like something was off. Ethan stepped closer. I can stop this. I can make sure you survive. But there's a cost. Emma swallowed. What kind of cost? His eyes softened. If I fix this, I'll disappear forever. The words hit like a knife. She didn't know Ethan, but somehow she felt like she had known him her whole life. Tears burned her eyes. There has to be another way. Ethan gave her a sad smile. There isn't. A cold wind swept through the alley. The man in the grey coat had found them. Everything happened in a blur. Ethan stepped between Emma and the man. A blinding burst of light filled the alley. Emma screamed, shielding her eyes. When she looked up, the man was gone. So was Ethan. Rain poured around her. Her heart pounded. But something was wrong. Her mind felt empty, like something was missing. She clutched her head. Why was she standing in an alley? Why was she crying? A voice whispered in the wind. You won't remember me, Emma, but you'll be safe now. Tears streamed down her face, and for some reason she didn't know why. Have you ever met someone who felt familiar, but you couldn't remember why? Maybe, just maybe, you weren't supposed to remember them at all.